here we are. Where have you been? Well, I just thought I'd get a bit of fresh air to get my temperature down.
You didn't bring me back a cup of coffee with you, did you?
No, but I thought it would be good if we got Maria to do a hair trial for your big wedding day.
And what's wrong with my normal hair?
Oh, sweetheart, no, you've got to do something with it. I mean, this is going to be the greatest day of your life. Again.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 337 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that was going to write a festive intro this week, but instead was distracted by seeing Daniel jog like a perfectly normal person. I'm Gavin.
And Christmas has officially thrown up all over this house.
Yep. I think this Christmas and next Christmas has thrown up all over this house. A little bit of New Year as well.
I didn't even put all of the Snow Village out. There's still parts of the Snow Village downstairs under the stairs.
Yeah.
You will have noticed that the Globe Theatre, for example, is not making an appearance this year.
I would have noticed that.
You noticed.
Are you sure?
You noticed nothing. I was being polite.
I'm conscious that it's there. If I've ever given it more than a second glance, it's probably by accident.
So much of what goes on in this house, you barely notice.
I tell you, I have got more than my hands full with everything else that I am aware of going on in this house, of which you're not quite so observant about.
Or I choose to ignore.
Right. How are you this week?
Well, now that our washing machine is fixed, I'm great. Because now we have clean clothes again.
Excellent.
Yes. Sally's like, why don't you just go to the laundromat? And I'm like, I'm not schlepping through the snow to the laundromat. And it's expensive to wash your clothes at the laundromat.
Is it?
It's like $1 a wash.
Yeah, but they're big old machines, though. You can probably fit quite a bit in one machine, though, right?
Well, the dryers are big. The wash machines are like normal size, I think. They look bigger than they are.
They look enormous.
They do. Plus, who wants to sit in a laundromat all day washing clothes?
I feel like they're kind of depressing places.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone who has to use them.
No. And I mean...
And there are lots of people who do.
Yeah. My friend Sharon, she was talking, because we were talking about it today at work, and she lives in an apartment, so she has a laundry room in her apartment building that she has to go outside and walk around the building to get to.
Right.
And then down some stairs.
Oof.
And she's only one person. Can you imagine for a household of 4?
Yeah. First world problems, right enough.
Yes, indeed. How are you this week?
I am okay. That is me finished work now until 2025.
Yeah, I'm going to work next week.
Haha.
But not on, well, by choice.
Oh,
I
still haha.
I could take Thursday and Friday off. I am taking Tuesday and Wednesday off.
No.
Obviously.
Sure. Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yeah, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Oh. Not Boxing Day.
No. That's not really a thing here.
It isn't really a thing here, despite my best efforts to make it a thing.
We make jokes about boxes on Boxing Day, but that's about it.
What was it? I had coffee with Steve at lunchtime today, and we went into Black Dog and asked for 2 white coffees. And the guy had no idea what I was talking about until I said coffee with cream, and then he knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's just you being an asshole, isn't it?
White coffee?
Nobody says white coffee.
You can't even guess?
I suppose you could guess.
I tell you, sometimes I just forget where I am. I didn't intend to confuse the lad. But I was like, wow, he really has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Here we are, into my 13th year here, and I'm still occasionally saying things that confuse the hell out of people.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to change. I think I'm still going to say things like white coffee and is that you to people, and they're going to have no idea what I'm talking about.
And then the other day you tried to get onto the wrong side of the car. Remember that? Mm-hmm. You don't do that very often anymore.
Shall we go for a festive preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that snowy Corrie news.
Our Aggie has spoken. Lorna Laidlaw has revealed some of her reasoning for leaving the show, from production originally wanting all of the Baileys to have Jamaican accents, to Aggie and Ed never kissing and presenting a positive image of black love on screen. Sounds about white to me.
See what you did there.
She has since done some acting work for Channel 5 and writing and directing work for the old Reps production of Wizard of Oz this Christmas. So she has kept herself busy, and more power to her. You know?
We were concerned that there was maybe some health issues that were keeping her away.
You were concerned that it was a health issue.
Oh, this is hell and after the fact again.
No.
You'd had no concerns whatsoever about her health.
I said if it was a health issue, they would have told us.
But it's none of our business.
No, that's true. But every time somebody on the show has a health issue, they tell us. It's like front page news. The fact that it was very quiet insinuated that it was, to me, that it was something else. And also because she was also
that it was something serious.
Very busy doing other work. And we've seen her busy doing other work. So, well, we haven't seen her, but we've seen announcements of her doing other work.
So
like
I think
the
we've
show
kind
on
of
Channel
seen
5.
Since she left, I think she's been more visible, certainly. But it's, I don't know if it goes through people's minds sometimes that you want to have a regular black family in the show for
the first time,
which is still staggering that, we're
59 years.
It's weird that the first inclination then is to do this kind of storyline, presumably where they're newly arrived from Jamaica, because there's no other excuse for why they would all have Jamaican accents.
Yeah, especially
So
the kids.
It just others them even more, rather than having a family who happened to be black moving into the street.
Right. Yeah. And that whole thing about Ed and Aggie never kissing on screen, once she said it, then you're like, oh, right. Yeah.
We turn into Gordon Ramsay, that's right.
That's true. I do that quite often. But anyway, let's continue with some Corrie news, shall we? Gemma has fringe now because Gemma actor Dolly Rose Campbell got a new shorter haircut, so now has to wear an awful wig to work. Come on, guys. Just let Gemma have short hair. What's the problem with Gemma having short hair?
I have no idea.
Her normal hair color instead of this really terrible wig.
She's gone away for a couple of weeks. She's come back with ridiculous hair. And when you see her hair naturally as Dolly Rose Campbell, she looks great.
She looks gorgeous.
Why can't she just have a nice haircut?
Right.
If she was on vacation, she got a nice haircut.
She got a haircut.
There you go.
There you go. Instead of, oh, look, I've gotten my hair straightened and colored and I have fringe now. Isn't shorter just better than all of those other things? It makes no sense.
It's like they're deliberately trying to make Gemma not look fabulous.
Yeah. It's like she must look
awful
at all times.
She can't look fabulous because poor people must look
terrible.
Dreadful. Yeah.
Yeah. How dare she have fabulous hair? How dare she?
We've got such a problem with the show this week.
Ugh.
And we haven't even started really talking about it.
We have not even begun to demand the head of whoever's doing the medical research on the show. But anyway. And finally, Stephanie Davis's Courtney Vance is a thing of the past. And Steph has released a new line of beauty project called Sincere, something that her character most definitely was not.
Well, we shall certainly keep our ears and our eyes open for that.
Yes. Hopefully it'll be sold here in the U.S. as well, and we'll buy lots of it. And that's Corrie News.
That's Corrie News with a strange little advert for Stephanie Davis's...
It's the week before Christmas. You're not going to get a lot of great Corrie News.
With all that said, let us move into the feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. We got more Christmas cards. Well, a Christmas card.
And a present.
How delightful.
So delightful.
I have waxed lyrically about how much we enjoy getting handwritten correspondence from you, our listening several.
Yes.
And we were blessed this week with not only a Christmas card from Pickles, which has a picture of Gail on it,
Yes, it does.
and hope you have a Gale of a time
Right.
pun, which we very much enjoyed.
Yes, we did.
And then the message, hope you have time for fa-la-la-la-la. Love from Pickles.
Yes.
Here's hoping. We also got a very, very lovely Christmas present in the shape of a Pickles Christmas ornament,
Yes, shaped like a pickle.
shaped like a pickle.
With a note calling us the best podcasters in the world and also a really big dill. So that's 2 puns for the price of one.
It's almost a pun run. and
It's a fun pun run.
and we love a pun run here.
We
and
do.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much, Pickles. We really appreciate it. It's always a delight to go to my P.O. box, open it up and see that there's something there that isn't junk mail.
And a box.
Yeah.
A box.
A box which didn't fit in the P.O. box. And
Really?
they put a little slip in it to say that they
Oh.
had a box for us. So now I know how that works.
Yeah.
Because I have wondered what happens if somebody sends something,
Big.
well, not even big, just like bigger than a couple of layers. So, yes, thank you so much, Pickles. We very much appreciate it.
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much. Oh, and the pickle ornament has joined the abundance of Christmas thrown up all over our living room on top of our tree,
Yes.
right by the Christmas ornament shaped like the country of Scotland.
We hope that Pickles has a lovely festive period also.
Yes, as well as everyone else.
Yeah, but particularly Pickles.
Right, yes, because she sent us stuff.
Yes. Moving on, Charles writes, I find it hard to believe that Daisy could torch Debbie's stolen car. Did she just happen to have a can of petrol and matches on her?
Yeah.
Very good point.
Fair point, yes.
Very good point. Stephen on Twitter writes, the quads are played by one boy who is deaf that plays Alid,
Yes.
and a set of triplets playing the other 3.
Yes.
So we can consider ourselves well informed about that. Thank you,
Yes.
Stephen. Michelle on YouTube writes, I so appreciate the smiles you bring me.
Oh,
Isn't that lovely?
that is lovely.
That's kind of why we do it, I guess,
Yes, it is.
to bring smiles to ourselves. And if anyone else smiles along, well, that's just a bonus.
Yes, we torture ourselves with watching the show just to make you smile.
Smile or smell?
Smile.
Wendy writes, Craig and Faye have more chemistry than Carl and Swain. I very much disagree with this.
No, I don't think there's a lot of chemistry between Carla and Swain, especially this week.
I feel like the chemistry between them was better before they started dating.
Right, yeah. I think that whole will they, won't they tension
Feels like they're kind of soaping up a little bit now.
has fizzled and also become a bit problematic, which we'll talk about later.
Thank you to Pickles, Charles, Stephen, Michelle, and Wendy for writing in this week. We very much appreciate it. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast, and we love it, as I think we've proved, when people write actual letters to us. Send us proper mail to the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. And please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity, Helen, no other reason
No,
that I can think of right now.
no.
And now we'll podcast for coffee.
Perhaps.
Friend of the podcast.
Woo!
Perhaps.
Oh, I was going to say perhaps an excessive use of profanity would be another reason why we might edit.
Unlikely.
I mean, like a profound use of profanity.
It would have to be enough to shock me. And I feel like I'm kind of unshockable in that regard. Unless it's a story about cows. But anyway, we digress. We have a new friend of the podcast.
Woohoo!
Welcome to Tara J.
Thank you so much, Tara J.
No comment on Tara's note on signing up, so I hope I didn't miss one, but thank you very much. Anyway, you're more than welcome to join the illustrious band of friends of the podcast. We very much appreciate your support. In addition to Tara signing up to be a friend of the podcast, we have English Victoria to thank for our coffees this week.
Thank you so much.
English Victoria writes, I am sending you a small little something to enjoy over the festive period as a little token of thanks for all the laughs and entertainment over this last year. I also had written you a Christmas card, but the post office queue was totes insane. Sorry. Well, that's...
Well, no comment.
I think the intention to send us correspondence has to count for something, I think.
Yes.
But thank you very much, English Victoria, for your very generous donation for our coffees. That'll keep us going.
And, you know, coming from England, she would have to probably stand in the post line in order to get the correct postage.
Yeah.
To mail something to Michigan.
Thanks also to Ian Les Paul for our coffees this week.
And his wife.
Ian Les Paul writes, loved the story about the man in the coffee queue. Merry Christmas, you two. And I had to think, the man in the
coffee queue.
That was the guy that said, good morning, Gavin.
Oh, yes.
That's a good story.
That's a good story.
And lastly, thanks to Canadian Helen for our coffees this week.
Woohoo!
We are thrice blessed with coffee money this week.
From people from all over the world.
Yeah. Thank you to Canadian Helen. Happy Christmas to Helen and Gavin, she writes. That is wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show some love. Sign up as a friend of the podcast there at patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. And honestly, thank you so much to everyone who has given us coffee money, signed up to be a friend of the podcast this year, and especially this festive period. We know everything's more expensive this year.
Yes.
I think we're all feeling it. So the fact that people have been so generous in buying us our coffees,
so lovely,
is very humbling, and we appreciate it very much. And the generosity this week has been quite incredible.
Yes. This is why we continue to watch this terrible show. All for you.
Well,
it's not always terrible, but it was terrible this week. It was so bad this week.
I think there were bits of it that I really didn't like. And there were bits of it that I thought were okay. And the bits that I thought were okay mostly involved Sally.
Sally was this week's saving grace all over the place.
So, shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline tonight is the Whole Kit and Caboodle. Which...
Man whores are us.
Yeah, that might be the storyline title next week. On Monday, Debbie sees Matty, a.k.a. Deck, from Ant and Deck, on the street and accuses him of stealing her car, which he does not appreciate. And it kind of looks like he's going to choke her with her own scarf, which is...
Right, yeah, he does kind of like a hangman's noose knot in her scarf, and also calls her elderly.
Yeah, he says he doesn't steal from the elderly. Debbie is unruffled by this, but Daisy sees it and looks a little affected, knowing that this is kind of all her fault. After Daisy is in Nina's Rose talking to Shona about her arm injury. At least it was just a small car that hit you, says Daisy. And Shona quickly wonders how the fuck Daisy knew it was a car, because she hasn't told anybody that.
No.
Daisy panics and blames Kit babbling. So, Shona storms to the station to face off with Kit, who apologises for talking out of school. He says he trusts Daisy to keep her mouth shut, but Shona wonders if he trusts who Daisy trusts, because that's how these things spread. Somebody always tells somebody else.
Yes.
And she's absolutely right.
She is absolutely right.
Kit insists that's all he told her and it'll be fine. At the pub, Shona speaks more with Daisy, who seems far too concerned with Shona's injuries, and because she's been having trouble sleeping or something like that, or she's got a headache or whatever.
Right, yes. She's got a headache, as well as the arm thing, and which is concerning.
Yeah. But she thinks that Shona should go off to hospital to get checked out.
Yes, she
and
should.
this makes Shona psychic. And she jumps to the conclusion that Daisy is looking guilty as fuck and asks if she was the driver, what knocked her down. So, through the back, Daisy admits to a now psychic Shona that she was responsible, and she's dragged Kit into this to keep her out of jail.
Shona's always been psychic.
She begs Shona not to report it. Suck my balls, says Shona, and she storms off. Daisy's quick on to Kit to put some pressure on Shona to keep stum, or they're both fucked. Meanwhile, because this touches on more than one occasion
Just like Kit.
the exit story for a soap legend.
Yes, Kit touches more on one occasion. Touches more people.
Yeah.
On many occasions. Ha ha. Man whore.
Gail is worried about Audrey and has arranged an appointment with Gadas for her later. This was not in Audrey's plan, because remember, Audrey's just kind of pretending to be ill to, I don't know,
No, I think
to
she's
register her disapproval.
I think she's genuinely ill, but she's also displeased with Gail leaving. But she can't tell Gail that she's displeased with her leaving, because that would be admitting that she actually loves her daughter.
Yes, we can't have that.
We can't have that.
David finds this hilarious until she ropes him into pretending to take her. So Audrey takes David out for an ice cream, and he gets too excited and gets a bit of brain freeze.
Yes.
Just like
And then they
Nick
go to-
Frost does in Hot Fuzz.
And then they go to Goofy Golf. And this is one of my highlights of the week.
Just seeing David and Audrey sitting in a car together eating ice cream brought me quite a lot of joy.
Right. Yes. Especially since it's Audrey and David conniving against Gail.
Yeah, and the fact that they have to fill their time for a reasonable length so that it's enough to fool Gail that they actually went for a doctor's visit. So, but rather than driving about, they decide to go and do fun things.
Right. Yeah.
Like have ice cream.
Right. Yes. Of course, this also is done for plot.
Oh,
For
obviously, yeah.
Other reasons.
For what I'm about to say, yeah.
Yes.
Because he spots Shona meeting with Adam in the precinct. And it does look like they just kind of bumped into each other. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why else they would be together.
Right. Yes.
Audrey says they probably just bumped into each other and drags them back when it looks like David's about to storm across to speak to them. Audrey needs to keep a low profile, and she's paid for his silence. Back home, David tests Shona to see how her day was, how busy the precinct was, and did she bump into anybody that she knew? But Shona downplays it, and then after getting a text, quickly hurries off, saying that it's for a cafe emergency. But in Nina's roles, she meets Kit, and Kit tells her that it's in no one's interest to blab about Daisy, otherwise David will definitely start questioning why she was crossing the street outside the rape hotel in the middle of the night. He suggests that she lets it go, but Shona is really pissed off at Daisy. And when she gets home, David wants to know why she never mentioned running into Adam at the precinct. Because I forgot, you fucking weirdo, says Shona, and she goes into the house. But we see that David's house is being watched.
Yes.
So on Wednesday, first thing, David is approached by the Chuckle Brothers, who threaten him and his family
Deck and Mickey.
and demand Harvey's money back.
Wait, so they both work for Harvey now?
Yeah.
Harvey is scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to shysters.
Yeah. There's so much wrong with this.
It's so...
First of all, David punched Gary into a coma.
Yes.
Why is he concerned about Hoddit and Doddit here? I've absolutely no idea. Just, you're telling me that David can't handle these two goons? Or he's threatened by them in any way?
I guess because they threatened the other members of the family, but still, this is David.
But the
who's
other thing
been
that...
to jail and was part of a riot in which everyone said they didn't want to watch How I Met Your Mother anymore.
Just season 1. We don't know how they felt about the other 50 seasons of it. So it seems that David was spotted at the lockup
Yeah, but
weeks ago.
Weeks ago.
So
And
now they're just getting round to it?
They're just now getting round to it. So wait, he was spotted and they still broke into Sarah's house instead? Because he would have been spotted before they broke into Sarah's, right?
Wait a minute, why did they break into Sarah's? They didn't break into Sarah's for the money.
Yeah, they broke into Sarah's for the money. Because they thought Sarah had it. Remember? But it was only one of them. It was only Mickey. It wasn't Deck.
Mickey. Why are we calling him Mickey?
Because he looks like Mickey Rourke right after the motorcycle accident.
I'm not sure if he does or not.
He probably doesn't, but it's funny.
And I think I cut that out last week because it sounded a little cruel.
Oh, yes, because Deck is perfectly acceptable.
Well, Deck's not been in an accident. Yeah, so it doesn't really make very much sense that now, weeks later...
Right.
Because I think it was sunny when
Yeah.
David was trying to return the money that time.
Yeah.
It was months ago.
It was months ago. Look, we only have to look at the Dee Dee storyline to know that nobody is paying attention to the amount of time that has passed in the writer's room.
David denies all knowledge about this and goes in the house. So the brothers Dim go to the salon, claiming to be friends of David, and they give Audrey some chat. When David comes in later, he panics and quickly ushers them out, where he admits to taking the money.
That's why.
But it's now tied up with a mortgage company.
Right. So he's like, no, I have no idea who you guys are. But they don't even threaten Audrey. They're only just there with Audrey. And that's enough for him to be like, no, you're right. And I'm so sorry, guys. And I'm not going to punch you into a coma. I'm just going to be frightened by you for some reason.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they now know where Audrey works.
I would assume that they already knew where Audrey works.
Everybody knows where Audrey works.
Because it's also where David works.
It's Audrey's salon, after all.
Right, yeah, it's got her name on the door.
So the asshole brothers threaten to take it out in the family if he doesn't pay them back pronto. David tries to call the mortgage company when he gets home, but they tell him to suck their balls. Jesse comes in, looking for the receipt to pick up the rings from the jewellers, and seeing an opportunity, David offers to pick them up for himself.
Even though...
Something that he was going to do, or Jesse asked him to do last week, and David told him to jog on. So later, David... This doesn't make sense either.
Earlier today.
Later, David meets Ant and Dec in the precinct, and apparently he's given them a call to meet them.
How's
he got their number?
Their number? Were they like, yeah, well, when you're going to pay us back, give us a call.
Here's our card.
Right, yes, with our number that you can just, walk over to the police station and give them.
Actually, I've got a QR code here, so if you just want to take a photograph with your phone, I'll take care of it all for you. What?
So stupid.
So stupid. David gives them the rings as a down payment, saying that they're worth a couple of grand. And he asks for some installment plan to pay them back the rest. And then he gets them to do him another favour by punching him in the face to make it look like he's been mugged. And I honestly have no idea why David's been such a wimp here.
No. And also, there are cameras all over that precinct.
Oh, they're always in that little kind of, not quite the alleyway of doom yet, but it's along those lines, isn't it?
One would imagine there would be a camera in there, wouldn't there?
That should be where most of the cameras are pointing.
Right. Why would they have cameras everywhere else and then say, look at this secret hidden spot. This is where you can do all of the crime. It's the middle of the day, though. So even if they're in that little alcove, if somebody is punching him, other people in the playground and at the ice cream shop are going to hear that.
Well, as we've already proved earlier on in the storyline, the precinct's really busy these days.
Yeah. So lots of people would see him getting beat up. What is going on here?
So he goes home all covered in jam, claiming to have been mugged, and the muggers took the rings. He says it was a gang of 4 and they were all on e-bikes.
Which doesn't make sense either, because e-bikes are all equipped with GPS. They don't tend to be used in crimes. Oh, no, wait. I'm thinking...
Are you thinking of e-cigarettes?
No. I'm thinking of... There are e-bikes that have GPS, the ones that you rent. But these aren't necessarily ones that you rent. So these are criminals who don't care about doing crime, but they do care enough about the environment.
They care so deeply about the environment. These are
they're
green
riding
crimes.
around on e-bikes. So a bunch of nerds on e-bikes were able to beat up David and steal rings.
I prefer my criminal to be concerned about his carbon footprint. Definitely. And they also recycle.
Yes.
Bikes? Cycle?
Yes. I
Just-
get it.
Well, tell your face that. She
I didn't
storms
say it
off.
was funny. I said I get it.
So, Shona wants to call the police, David says that he's already taken care of that, but later, Shona bumps into Kit in the pub. He's seen the police report, but the stories don't match. Apparently, David told the cops that there were 2 blokes, and there was no mention of e-bikes.
No. So they're not
environmentally conscious after all.
Yeah, very sad.
They're fossil fuel burning ring thieves.
Yes.
She storms off to find David, but runs into Maria, who blabs that apparently David is now busy mates with Mason's brothers, Ant and Dec. Shona finds David at home and demands to know the truth, or she's going to speak to Dumb and Dumber herself. So, David comes clean about everything.
Everything?
About stealing the money. I don't think he mentions anything about Jesse.
No.
But he does mention about stealing the money for the house and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's weird that he doesn't mention the Jesse stuff.
Shona is hacking furious that David would put the family in Harvey's sights like this.
Yeah.
And says that, fuck this, I'm going off to fix it. And David is very much against her doing that, but there's no stopping her.
That's right.
So she goes back to speak to Kit and explains the general lay of the land and tells him to get Mason's brothers to back the fuck off and reminds him that he owes her for Daisy's erratic driving thing.
Right. And also for the hole.
Yeah. So Kit meets Dec at the precinct, headbutts him, and tells him to stay the fuck away from David Platt. And I thought that was excellent.
It was.
Although...
It was hilarious. Although, did he have to stoop down a little to do that?
You'd think. What surprised me in that headbutting thing was how far back Kit moved before launching himself at poor wee Dec. And he grabs him by the nose afterwards,
Right, yes.
which was particularly nice.
So he's already broken that nose, and now he's making it even more painful.
Yeah, he gives it a good old tweak.
Nice.
Back in the street, Shona dismissively tells David that she got Kit to handle it, and then she advises that he stays the fuck away from her for a bit. So instead, David speaks to Kit, thanks him for whatever he did. Kit warns him that Harvey may not take too kindly to all this. David wonders why he helped, and Kit, thinking very quickly, says that Paul always spoke very highly of him, and that seems to placate David.
Yes.
But back home, David is still suspicious when Shona has made dinner and seems to have put all this behind her.
Right, yes. She's no longer angry at him. And it's like, it's Christmas. Just be happy.
And that's completely in keeping with Shona's mood.
Right.
Is that she changes very quickly because
Yes.
of the brain
Being
injury.
shot in the stomach.
Exactly.
And getting brain damage.
So on Friday at number 8, Gail has a surprise for everyone. She's arranged for all the Platt women to get a pamper session at the salon.
Yeah, at Audrey's.
Sarah and Shona pretend to be impressed, but then are pissed off because they're going to have to take time off work. Meanwhile, David encourages Jessie to get Gail a cheap replacement ring from the market. At the salon, there's cheap festive fizz. 7th time lucky, says Audrey, and she calls Jessie Eileen's sloppy seconds.
Wait, is Gail my father?
If only. We might be going somewhere this Christmas. Gail insists that she and Jessie are very much in love. Meanwhile, Jessie has found a jeweller's on Balaclava Terrace and has found the rings what got nicked. He's going to call the police and is confident that they'll nab the guys who robbed David and sold them on to them. So David has to come clean to Jessie now. And now Jessie is very furious.
Right, yeah, but David never points out to Jessie that he's done this to pay back the guys that they stole the money from, that Jessie is also complicit in, because Jessie is the one who's going to launder the money.
This is so confusing. So what did David actually confess to then? Confess to selling the rings.
Right, yes.
But why?
Yeah, he's not, he's like, I owe these guys money. So it doesn't sound like he's being specific as to who he has to pay back. He's not very specific about that. And when Jessie gets furious at him, he doesn't say, hey, hold on a minute. You're the one who's helping me launder this money. This is the money that we need to return. Mm-hmm. Which also confuses me because he gave the cash to Jessie and Jessie walked away with it. So what did he use for the down payment for the mortgage?
He used Jessie's divorce money.
Right. So that cash should still probably be hanging around somewhere, yes?
Well, Jessie said that he's almost done laundering it.
Right.
Somehow. He doesn't look like he knows how to launder his underpants, never mind 50 grand.
Yeah, we need, what's his name, to come back from the last time we had a money laundering storyline. Remember that? Through Speed Doll?
Oh, Zidane?
Yes.
We can't get Hashim back because he's dead.
Right.
Remember, he had a textbook heart attack at number 6.
He had a Bugs Bunny heart attack. But Zidane could come back and they could launder the money through Speed Doll again.
Yeah, they can launder it through Zidane's hair. David admits that he thinks that Shona's having an affair, and that seems to calm Jesse down a little bit, although he insists that he wants his fucking money back. And later it seems that Gail has been forgotten again when Audrey, Shona, Sarah and Bethany are talking about her marriages and her legacy in the pub, minus her. When Shona comes home...
Yeah, what's up with that? Because she's not there getting pampered either. She arranged all of this for everybody, but not for her?
This has got to be Helen Worth's decision.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense that the week before she's due to leave, she's in the show for all of
5 minutes.
Yeah. So when Shona comes home, David reveals that he's going to be Jesse's best man. Shona is drunk and just wants to go to her bed, but David has a little rifle about in her bag and seems to find, is it aftershave that he finds?
Something
that
that he himself would not use. So he's confused.
Meanwhile, as all this is going on, in the morning, Daniel is running away from the voices in his head and the memories of the countless awful things he's done and the inner monologue that insists that he's the worst person ever and a total and complete fanny when he sees Kit smooching a woman at the entrance to his building.
His bathrobe.
He's in his short
incredibly short bathrobe.
Well, a regular length bathrobe that's looking very short on Kit.
He looks like Randy Quaid in Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, he was given those vibes.
Minus the flappy hat.
Yep. If only. So, in the pub, so Kit is smooching a woman at the entrance to his building. In the pub.
A woman we don't know because he's a man whore.
But a blonde woman.
Yes.
In the pub, Daniel is in a mood and eventually tells Daisy what he saw in the morning. Daisy says that that's fine, they're not exclusive with each other, they can see who they want. But later, when Kit is in, Daisy starts flirting with Adam, calling him tall but not too tall, until Daniel points out that Adam hates her and has hated her for 3 years.
Yeah, and she kind of hates him back.
Kit is amused but admits to being jealous and suggests that they go steady and gives her a smooch. And Daisy is quietly chuffed about that. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Which is weird.
The thing that I was quite excited about last week on this was there's so many people who have something on someone else, but the someone else also has something on them.
Right.
So Shona has something on Kit.
And one of them is always Kit.
And Kit has something on Shona. Daisy has something on Kit. And Kit has something on Daisy.
Yes.
So there's a kind of mutually assured destruction thing going on.
Right, yes. And he also wants to have sex with all of these women.
But the variable that is thrown into this is David. Once David finds out what's going on, I can see a situation that arises where David and Shona stay together throughout this. But David is...
Why?
Because I can. I'm not saying it's the best thing, but I can see a situation where the two of them decide to make it work because they're equally as fucked up as each other.
I suppose.
But David getting thrown into this and wanting to bring Kit down would then be armed with quite a bit of evidence against DC Green.
Yes.
Given his covering up with CCTV or deleting CCTV and there's all this, who knows about the hair in the van?
Will that ever come up again?
Sarah knows about it, right?
Right, yeah. Well, no, Sarah doesn't even know about it. She knows that she was going to do it, and I think she knows that Kit did it.
Well, that's what I said.
But I don't think she knows that Kit's... I think she assumes that Kit did it.
And I think, does Daniel know?
Daniel knows that Sarah was going to do it. But then everybody was like, oh, well, her hair was in there. But how did it get there? I don't know.
So the situation is that David is in a prime position and has the desire and the capability to bring Kit down.
But also, David desperately needs Kit on side unless he wants to get murdered by Harvey's gang.
Well, this further
if,
complicates
like,
that.
other people from Harvey's gang show up to take over from Ant and Dec.
Right.
Because they're useless.
Well, it takes him a couple of months to get round to following up a lead, so yeah. So yeah, this is another, I guess, interesting bit to this, but it's all getting so convoluted and confused about...
And this is just one storyline that's convoluted and confused. There are more. And the whole kind of meshing the Daisy storyline in with the David storyline. Because those used to be separate storylines. And now they're not.
Yeah, they were impossible to separate.
At this point, yeah. And it's all because of Kit not being able to keep it in his kit.
I can't see Daisy and Kit lasting any length of time because this does seem to be a relationship that is born out of insinuation and covering up and blowing cars up. As seems to be what's keeping them together, which...
Hey, worked for Abby and Kev.
Oh, you know, yeah. That has there's form here, I guess, for this sort of relationship
Yay.
to... I don't know if flourish is the right word, but maybe survive. I don't know. I still think it's Daisy and Daniel for the long run.
Right, yeah. And I still want to see what happens when we put Kit and Sarah together. Because
Why are you touching your index fingers together as you say that? That's interesting. That's an interesting way to... Well, now that I've drawn attention to it, you're making kind of shadow puppets now of sexual intercourse. But anyway.
with a very tall person and a very short person.
Okay.
Yes.
Before we move on, Audrey saying sloppy seconds took me by surprise.
It's the thing that makes this that weird is that if that's what she thought about this whole Gail Jesse thing, you'd think she would have said it from the very beginning and not a week before their wedding.
Well, a few days, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's having digs all the way through, and she's shocking Sarah. She's saying some of these things.
And I was shocked initially because I thought Gail was there. And then it's like, wait a second. Why is Gail not at our own party? She got these people to leave work to hang out with her. And then she's not there.
Yeah. I don't like this.
No, me neither.
All right, let's move on. My next storyline is the legacy of Les, a.k.a. the most boring story in the world.
The legacy of Les, who is the mystery driver of the van.
On Monday, Toya and Leanne are at the Quad House and they've got news. The abattoir is now offering 60 grand on the proviso that they sign an NDA. They're both keen to bite the abattoir's hand off and put it all behind them, but Ches thinks the offer is still an insult to Leslie's memory.
And it's like, Chesney,
For fuck's sake.
if his own daughter says, yes, no, this is fine, maybe you should fuck all the way off of her back.
You as sort of Leslie's nephew should just fuck off.
Right. You're lucky you're getting in any of this.
Right. Later, Gemma's head has been taken over by an awful wig, and the wig is angry that Ches didn't tell her about Les. Gemma's wig reminds him that they're skint and he should take the fucking money. Ches doesn't look convinced. He hurries off to the bistro where Leanne and Toya are signing the abattoir's NDA. You should be ashamed of yourselves, he says.
Fuck off, Chesney!
Leanne points out that Les would have taken the 50 grand in a heartbeat. Ches questions how much they could have loved Les and storms off. Toya goes to see him and insists that they loved Les just as much as Chesney did, but he says he has no intention of taking his 20 grand.
Your children are running around on stolen shoes, Chesney.
Yes. On Wednesday, Chesney gets home and spots the mysterious van outside his house. It drives off as soon as he spots it, so Ches gives chase and he follows the van to Freshco's car park, where he puts sugar in the fuel tank. At home, he's having
Because
asked...
it's 1954. And you can still do things like that, and there are no protective safety measures or valves in a car's gas tank to prevent you from doing bullshit like this. Oh, wait. Actually, there is.
Is there stuff that would stop you doing that now?
Yes.
Let's see what Mr. Google has to say about that. Can I put sugar in my neighbour's gas tank?
Great. The FBI is going to be here in the morning.
No, you should absolutely not put sugar in your neighbour's gas tank. It's considered vandalism and illegal, and while it might not completely destroy their car, it can cause significant damage to their fuel system, potentially requiring expensive repairs to clean out the clogged fuel lines and filter. So this suggests that you can still do it, but you shouldn't.
Yeah. And there are definitely cars in which you can't.
At home, he's having asshole's regret and explains about the van and what he did to Gemma's wig. Gemma's wig tells him that he could get the jail for this and is pissed off that he's keeping more secrets from her. He thinks this was another example of people treating him like a doormat, and he was just standing up for himself. And Gemma's wig tells him that he's not a loser and they'll get through this, and gives him a wee kiss. And that's as far as we get with that.
Yes. Thank you, Gemma's wig. It's like not even a good wig.
It is impossible to look anywhere else when Gemma's wig is on the screen. That's how captivating it is.
They couldn't even
Because it's like, it's suddenly grown quite a bit, her hair.
Well, it's been straightened.
It looks like there's extensions on there as well.
Well, it's
and
a wig.
obviously it's a wig. And
And it's too straight. Like the bangs are too straight. They don't sit right on her forehead.
it seems to move. Like it has
A mind of its own.
Yeah, independent movement from Gemma's head.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Catherine Zeta-Jones's hair in Chicago, only longer and not as stylish.
Oh, not at all stylish, I would say.
It's like a Halloween wig.
It's like one of those dogs that you get.
Are they
These
punishing?
dogs that they have now.
It feels like the show is punishing Dolly for cutting her hair. Because it's the worst wig ever. And I hope she's not going to grow her hair out just to appease the show. Because she looks gorgeous with short hair.
She really suits it. I don't know, it's just more stylish. And she looks more stylish when she's not wearing Gemma clothes, obviously.
Right, yes. And Medusa hair.
But yeah, it's like Michelle. It's like her hair stayed when the rest of Michelle left. And they've recycled it now. So bad.
It's like an extra on the Walk Like an Egyptian music video.
There's a little bit.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're very sorry, Dolly. Your hair in real life looks fantastic.
Yeah, I really don't know what more Chesney needs to just... It's not even being gracious or realising what this money can do for you and your family. Even if you did have some kind of pride reason for not taking this money,
Yeah.
there isn't any real reason to...
You have children to take care of.
How much is enough then? Because he's like trying to do it from a point of principle that Leslie's life was worth more, which kind of suggests that there's a value to it that he sees in his head. So what is that? Is that 100 grand? Is that 200 grand? What difference does it make now when you have an immediate need for your family?
Right.
Where you're constantly complaining about money. Here's 20 grand of free money.
Right, yes. You're constantly complaining about money and how you don't have enough. You have to work like 3 jobs in order to...
Barely keep your head above the water.
Right. It's just... And then to have the gall to yell at Leanne and Toya and be all self-righteous with them. It's like they are the literal children of this man, not the nephew. What is your problem? You know? They're not going to tell you anything more about this. You can't get actual justice
No.
from a company. Are you kidding me? Do you not know how capitalism works, Chesney?
Yeah, it
Considering that capitalism is grinding your neck into the pavement?
Yeah, it doesn't smile on you, Chesney, unfortunately. And the only person whose opinion really matters on this is Leanne's.
Exactly.
So if Leanne is willing to take it, then I'm sorry, you just need to suck it up, take your 20 grand and be happy about it. All right, let's move on to our next story. It's a Swarla Christmas on Monday.
Swain.
Carl and Swain are at the Rape Hotel and it's declared an out-of-office zone. Phones off. They're about to get wired into the Vino but decide to check out their room first. So they're away for a cheeky wee night away round the corner in the Rape Hotel.
Apparently, even though all of their children are aware of this situation.
After they've checked out the room, they're going to get some spa treatments and they bump into Debbie, who thinks it's nice to see friends and girly pals have a good time rather than just couples.
They're just roommates.
Which is a strange thing to say.
It is a weird thing to say. They're just gal pals.
Do you know, I don't think I would have been more surprised if Debbie had bumped into the two of them and said,
Evil dies tonight!
for no good reason. But no, it's nice for girly pals just to come
Yes.
to meet up for girly pals things,
Yes.
rather than these
Gal
terrible
pals.
romantic couples that meet up for sexual reasons and stuff. Oh, and also,
Evil dies tonight!
No, it's like, what are you trying to say, Debbie? Because she's like, oh, it's nice to see, we get so many couples here. It's nice to see friends come and use these spa treatments together. And it's like, why?
yeah.
And they can't possibly be the only friends who have come to get your spa treatments. I'm sure other women, like on bridal showers or hen do's, will come and do this as well. Or just friends hanging out. Women do this sort of thing together all the time. It's just a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
And it's only said so that Carla can be like, yes, that's great.
Yep.
Bye.
Oh, and by the way,
John Doe has the upper hand.
so Swain is about to correct Debbie, but as you said, Carla is happy to humour her, and the moment passes. Back in the room, Swain is worried that Carla is ashamed to admit their relationship. Carla insists that couldn't be further from the truth, but doesn't want to become gossip. She says if Swain wants to announce the relationship, then she will happily do so, but she'd rather give it some time. But to prove she's not having second thoughts, she suggests that they spend Christmas together. That sounds perfect, says Swain.
Yes, because Ryan is going off to spend Christmas with Michelle.
And
Nobody's-
Irish Tina.
And nobody seems to give a fuck about what Bobby's doing.
Nope.
Nobody cares about Bobby.
He's on the phone. On Wednesday, in Nina's role, Swain is looking for Carla, but Sarah confirms that she has a meeting at the bistro with a client. Izzy, who's there this week, plants the idea that there's a potential for romance between Carla and this guy who's a bit of a hunk. So Swain meets Carla in the bistro ahead of her meeting. Carla is dressed like Lisa Stansfield from the 1980s.
Right, yeah, what's up with that hat?
It's very chic, but it does look kind of Lisa Stansfield from the 80s. Coincidentally, Swain is meeting a colleague there as well, as Gareth, the client, turns up. And he's a very touchy-feely sort of guy. But
Right.
there's something about him that Swain doesn't seem to pick up on.
Yeah, I picked up on it immediately.
So when Carla nips off for a shite, Swain goes over and threatens to arrest Gareth for sexual harassment. Post-shite, Carla comes back and demands to know just what the actual fuck is going on here, explaining
Gareth
that
is
Gareth
like, you're barking up the wrong tree, babe.
is just a client and it's just schmoozing. And besides, Gareth is gay as get out.
He's
And
married
he's
to
married.
a man. A man, baby.
Oh my fucking God, says Swain. Gareth recommends Swain sees a psychiatrist and leaves. Carla says that she can't deal with this pathetic jealousy. Swain, though, doesn't think she's entirely in the wrong here and doesn't appreciate the mixed messages that she's getting, or how Carla seems determined to hide the relationship.
Shut up!
She worries that Carla is denying them. Carla recognises that she could have been more open, but says that she's not ashamed, it's just a big change and she was hoping to enjoy this feeling without people gossiping about it. The people she cares about know, and everyone else can do one. But that isn't good enough for Swain.
Who should fuck all the way off on this?
And she thinks that they both deserve better than having to hide from anyone. Carla apologises, and so they get their hole or something.
It's Carla's decision when she wants to come out as a bisexual woman. That's not Swain's choice. That's Carla's choice. Everybody comes out when they are ready to come out. And if you're not okay with that, you shouldn't be in a relationship with this person. It's so antithetical to everything. You know, the people are condemned for outing other people. Because it's not your job to out other people. And it's not your job to force people out when they're not ready. Especially when Carla didn't realize that she could have feelings for a woman until 2 weeks ago. It's so unbearable. I mean, we already kind of talked about the fact that the sexual tension of will they, won't they, once they did, just started to kind of fizzle out and become awkward, and them constantly fighting with one another about their relationship. And this is just continuing that. Why can't they just be happy and relaxed? Nobody else is going around, you know, shouting, I am a straight person, or I am a lesbian, or I am a gay man. Nobody is like shouting that from the rooftops. And Carla's had a very tumultuous relationship status for a while. If she's not ready to proclaim to the world that she's in a new relationship, and this one just happens to be with a woman, that's Carla's choice. And it's not Swain's job to force her into another decision. It's just, it really bothers me, obviously.
Well, I think what this situation needs is the opinion of a straight white man. So
let's hear it.
What I think is...
Evil dies tonight!
Okay. What I think is, in my experience, and this is regardless of the orientation or the gender dynamics of a relationship, but when you are in the fledgling moments of a new relationship, you're very protective of that, and almost having a kind of secret relationship adds to the excitement a little bit.
Yeah.
When we were courting to start off with, I didn't tell anybody, and nobody was asking me, enough. And when I started dating Julie, for the first couple of months, we were working not in the same department, but in the same place, and we just didn't announce anything to anybody. And I think when Alison and I started going out with my girlfriend before that, I think we did the same thing. It was like, you don't go out with somebody for 2 weeks and then just announce to everybody that, could you put pressure on yourself as well that is not necessary when you don't know how things are going to go.
Right, exactly.
So for Carla just to play off what Debbie suggested felt... Right. I can understand from Swain's point of view, if she's not that sort of person, why that might be a little bit hurtful. But I can also see Carla's stance on it as well as, I'm just going to let Debbie think what she wants to think.
Right, yeah.
And that's the end of it.
Right, yeah. It's not Carla being homophobic or uncomfortable necessarily with being in a same-sex relationship. I mean, I think that there is an aspect of that, though, that not only is it a new relationship, but it's a new kind of relationship for her. And she's still trying to figure out exactly how she feels. It's like they haven't really even gone on a proper date, really. unless this counts as a proper date, but it's a proper date that ends up with them upstairs in a hotel room having sex. Sex is not a date. I'm not sure why the show seems to think that dating means just having sex, and then, you know, the third time you have sex, that means you're in a relationship now.
Well, no, I think they addressed this on Friday. And a couple of other things I would add to this. I've seen quite a bit of commentary from lesbian and bisexual women, part of the Swarla nation, who are quite happy with how this is played out. Mm-hmm. But the interesting part that I saw of this, an interesting question that I saw from a couple of people, was the suggestion that Swain's inability to read cues here is kind of interesting and suggests perhaps a placement on an autistic spectrum for Swain. And when you think of how she is as a copper and how she is as a potential lover, I think there might be something in that. I don't know if it's something that the show is deliberately going down or wants us to notice, but when you start thinking about it, it does make a bit of sense.
I still think there may be some bipolar there with both her and Betsy. But yeah, it kind of makes sense. You don't really want to attempt to diagnose a character on television, but there are aspects of Swain's personality. And again, her personality has adapted over time from when she was just kind of a side character to now she is an official character, which we are very happy about, but it also makes us nervous because then the show kind of...
This is a price of having her as a regular character, as it soapifies her a little bit.
Right, and it means that they're going to throw lots of different things and see what sticks and what doesn't. Kind of like when we were first introduced to Bernie. I think Bernie is the best example of them kind of throwing everything at the character and seeing what sticks and what can be toned down a little bit. We've seen this with Dee Dee and with Bobby as well. So, I don't know. It feels like Swain lives her life very much in black and white, with not an awful lot of gray.
Yeah.
And what makes it difficult is it's her own perception of black and white, which is not necessarily everybody's perception of black and white.
Yeah. Neither of us are lesbians, and it's, I guess, tricky to see how that conversation looks and feels and sounds from that perspective. But when Carla said that she just doesn't want people to be gossiping about her, this is a big change for her, and this takes a little bit of getting used to, and she'd rather not go through this with people gossiping about her. That seemed like a perfectly reasonable thing to say.
Absolutely.
And for Swain to say that isn't good enough, was a little surprising.
It was
for me.
off-putting. You know, it feels like she's not recognizing that Carla employs half the street.
Right.
You know, and then is related to the other half in one way or another. So, yeah, there's a reason why she would not want to be gossiped about. And it doesn't matter necessarily who it is she's dating. She would get gossiped about. I feel like she would feel the same way if it was yet another dude.
Or Peter again.
Right, yes.
On Friday then.
Yes.
At the factory, Sally asks Carla what her plans are for Christmas, and once again, Carla kind of denies the relationship a bit. Then when Kirk plugs in the Christmas tree, he shorts the entire factory. Swain, who doesn't work at the factory, turns up at the factory and suggests that Carla gives everyone an early mark, seeing as it's Christmas, and she's brought a bottle of something creamy. Aye.
And the lights are out.
When Sally announces that the electrician is running late, Carla agrees and sends the knicker people home. And they all go to the pub and smuggle in booze that they've got from Carla's Christmas present. And they're all 7 sheets to the wind before Daisy notices and chucks them all out. And they all go back to Carla's apart from Sally, But when they get there, Swain comes out of the bedroom and she's in Carla's dressing gown. They all make their excuses and leave.
Yeah, Bobby's like, oops.
Meanwhile, Betsy's pished on Sally's gin, and she finally gets a smooch from a reluctant Mason at the precinct before puking her ring into a bag. "Hold my hair," she says. He takes her back to Sally's, where
And everybody says, I'm so glad they built this playground here for our children to enjoy.
he takes her back to Sally's, and I'm just so pleased that this is Mason's go-to solution here.
Yes, me too.
Takes
I love
her to
this.
Sally's, where Betsy makes herself at home, and Sally calls Carla, who is unperturbed about now being office gossip because Swain was caught.
Yes.
So Carla and Swain head to number 4 to pick up Betsy before Sally's soft furnishings need sponged. And when they go, Sally invites Mason to stay for Christmas so she doesn't have to watch the Die Hard movies with him.
And that's so sweet. It was so sweet when, like, his face lights up when
Really
he
does.
realizes that Sally is asking him to stay with them for Christmas, to have his Christmas with
It
them.
really was lovely.
It was so sweet. I just, oh,
It gives her a hug.
yes. And
Beautiful.
she hugs him back. Sally's heart has grown 2 sizes this day.
She really needs to see a doctor about that. Carla and Swain load Betsy into the car, and then, deliberately, and in full sight of Sally the ally, Carla gives Swain a smooch, and Sally makes a Sally face. And she rushes to the other knicker people at the bistro and tells them about Carla and her homosexual kiss with Swain. But everyone already knew or had their suspicions, or
Bobby
don't give a
knew.
fuck either way. Well,
Bobby-
Kirk says that he thought he knew there was something going on.
Right, yes. And then we maybe get the beginning of our Kirk suffering from severe depression storyline.
Yes.
A little.
Meanwhile,
Fingers crossed.
a morose Kirk who misses his Beth shits himself. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Right. And Sally makes sure to remind everyone that she is an ally of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yes.
And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, that's how I sound.
It is. It's exactly how you sound. I did think that also. So this ended well, I think.
Yeah.
And the kiss that Carla gave, I don't think was just to placate Swain.
No.
She seemed to be comfortable in doing it. She was very conscious that she's doing it in front of Sally.
Yes.
She kind of knows at this point that the game has been bust wide open by
Right.
what happened earlier on.
Yes.
So,
The gig is up.
but to do it in front of Sally, it couldn't have been better. And Sally's face was just absolutely priceless.
It was. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, the moment where Mason realizes that he's got a roof over his head for the next
Christmas.
week.
Not only a roof over his head, but invited in by people he likes and who like him.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
He really does love Sally and Tim,
Right.
doesn't he?
Like, he is comfortable with these people. He's comfortable enough to bring Betsy to Sally.
Because he knows that Sally will help and Sally will fix this.
Well,
Even though she kind of does.
yeah, she does complain about her soft furnishings a lot. And it makes me laugh every time she says soft furnishings. It's like, Sally, it's a fucking sofa.
Here's what else I liked about this whole thing. When Betsy is drunk and wants to kiss and presumably wants to other things with Mason when she's telling him that Mason's got lovely eyes and stuff,
Right, yeah.
he doesn't take advantage of her.
No, he doesn't.
And he says why he's not.
Yeah,
You're too drunk.
yeah.
God, they've rehabilitated him so well.
I know.
And so effortlessly.
Yes. Why couldn't they do this with racist Kelly?
Because they still can't.
They can't. They just can't.
And it's we'll get to that
We'll
storyline in a
get
bit.
to it.
But the way that the rehabilitation of Mason has gone, I would have said is impossible based on how he was. He was such an awful character.
He was so vile with the zombie knife and everything. pushing poor Liam into suicidal ideation.
To go from that to giving Sally a hug,
Yeah.
and to go from that to doing the right thing by Betsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of love Mason now.
I know. We never thought we'd say this.
I thought it impossible. I really did. All right, our penultimate storyline tonight is Mr. from Another Sister. On Wednesday, Nick and Toya have a moment alone in the bistro office. I thought it looked like Toya was putting her blouse back on, but I don't think she was.
No.
Nick and Sam really are going to Tenerife together. Well, I guess we're going to Yemen. But he wants to be... but he
What
wants...
does Yemen have to do with any of this?
Oh, it was Chandler from Friends when he tells Janice that he's moving to Yemen. And she
that's
follows
right.
him to the airport. Well,
Right.
I guess I'm moving to Yemen, which is a thought that went through my head just before I got on my one-way flight to the US. Well, guess I'm moving to Michigan.
I'm not Janice.
No. Are you?
Chandler!
There we go.
Oh my God!
More nasal. But
I'm not going to do
but
it
later.
again.
Yeah. So, he wants to be with her and can't wait to tell the world. Then Leanne arrives to take them to the airport, and privately she asks him to think about their reconciliation while they're away, and Nick promises to do that.
And then she kind of insinuates that she should be his +1 for Gail's wedding. And it's like, are they going to be back in time for that?
When they're gone, it looks like Leanne's been going crazy buying expensive items in Toya's name. And then she then asks Toya to work Christmas Day and then claims that Nick has asked Leanne to be his +1 for Gail's wedding.
So he's only going on vacation for like 3 days?
A few days, yeah. Because Sam's going. Toya pretends this is all very reasonable information and leaves them to it. But it looks like Leanne has set up a second phone in Nick's name. So it looks like she's getting hundreds of texts from him and she pretends to call him in front of Toya. She's doing her damnedest just to wind Toya up.
When did Leanne become Paddington Bear in the movies where Paddington Bear is like the guy in the chair? What is that movie where Paddington Bear is the guy in the chair? Not Paddington Bear, but the actor who plays Paddington Bear.
Ben Whishaw.
Yeah. Is it James Bond that he's the guy in the chair for Daniel Craig?
The guy in the chair? What do you mean?
You know the guy in the chair. In like every action movie, there's a guy in the chair. There's a guy in the chair who is piping information to the Tom Cruise or the Daniel Craig.
I don't know if this is worth delving down any further into.
It just, I'm confused by how easily Leanne is able to manipulate technology now in order to wind Toya up.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that she is because she's doing a great job of it.
Is she?
Well, it's working.
Does it feel like too much, though? Does it feel like maybe she's going a little overboard and Toya's going to see through her?
No, this
Very
so far
soon.
feels okay. But yeah, I think that Toya should be seen through her.
Yeah.
But Toya doesn't trust Nick 100%.
She should know not to trust her sister either, though.
Well, yeah. On Friday, staying at the hotel is maxing Toya's credit card out, and she's worried that Leslie's payout won't come in time to save her from bankruptcy. Meanwhile, Leanne gets Amy to check a recent wine order, which seems a bit over the odds. And later, Leanne transfers more money, but she seems to be having some remorse about all of it now.
Yeah, she's starting to think that maybe she's going too far.
And that's as far as we get with that. So I think this wine order is another part of the whole scam,
Yeah.
where maybe she's insinuating that Toya is deliberately falsifying the accounts to suggest that she's paid more money for wine and then is pocketing the difference.
Yeah.
That's maybe what it looks like.
How is Leanne falsifying this, though? How is she figuring out how to do all of this? Because again, and I don't want to bring it up again, She's no guy in the chair.
I think we've talked enough about the guy in the chair.
You're my guy in the chair.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's kind of hot.
Going through hundreds of photos to get the license plate for the car so I could get you an easy pass. Unfortunately, it didn't work, but I did find the license plate because you couldn't tell me because you were driving it
Right.
75 miles an hour down I-80
Yes.
and the rest.
Yes. It was only 75 miles per hour.
And a 45. All right. Well, we'll see what happens when Nick gets back next week in time for his mother's wedding.
Right. Yeah. In 2 days.
Yeah. Our final storyline tonight is Dee Dee's big decision. This was Frankie Goes to Hospital from last week, remember?
Yes.
So on Monday, Frankie's blood tests have come back and there's a chance that he's got leukemia and he might need a bone marrow transplant, and that means that he's definitely got leukemia and he definitely will need a bone marrow transplant.
Or this form of anemia, which also means he needs a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Either way, he needs a bone marrow transplant.
Yes, this is what we want to take from this.
And also, it's
from
not...
minute one on Monday.
And also, unfortunately, it is not hemophilia, so he's not related to the Royals.
Meanwhile, Dee Dee's having a hard time with it when she's found on Maxine's bench by her very best friend, Sarah. Sarah wonders how the abortion went, but Dee Dee hasn't booked it. Or she's booked it, but she hasn't had it. Sarah offers to go with, and in the passing tells her about Frankie, who's now back in hospital. This seems to be news to Dee Dee. Back at the hospital, Max is shocked when Joel's parents show up looking to apologise to racist Kelly. Max says racist Kelly has enough on her plate with the potential leukemia and stuff, and the dad, though, thinks that they have an idea to help. Later, Dee Dee meets her very best friend Sarah and Nina Rolls, and they chat about Frankie and the possibility of him needing a transplant. Also, she doesn't think she can bring this child into the world, even if she's losing her religion. Back at the ward.
That's Dee Dee in the corner.
Yeah.
That's Dee Dee in the spot. Light. Losing her religion.
Thank you. Back at the ward, the results will take a week to come through, and racist Kelly is a bit frustrated by the time that this is going to take. And this is, I think, part of the reason why I find it really hard to connect with racist Kelly.
She is terrible to people around her.
She's so ungrateful to people that are helping her.
Right, yes. She's like, you people are terrible. Taking care of my dying baby. Why can't you work faster?
And this is what she calls the nurse. You people.
Yeah.
Or your lot.
She is so mean and brutal to the people around her, except for Max and occasionally Bobby. But she was really awful to Bobby that one time, too. And then she's awful to Dee Dee all the time. When Dee Dee is constantly trying to help her. But then when Dee Dee tries to set boundaries, racist Kelly is really awful to her. Mm-hmm. Like, Dee Dee owes her. Dee Dee owes you nothing.
Right.
Just like she owes none of the other white people on the street anything. And yet...
Max comes in and offers himself up for a transplant too. Because, just get a hobby, Max. Fucking hell.
I mean... Here's the thing. Bone marrow transplants are really tricky. It's quite possible that Max may be the best chance Frankie has.
He tells her about Joel's parents and their mysterious offer. Reluctantly, racist Kelly agrees to speak with him. Their plan is to look after Frankie for her while the court stuff is going on. And racist Kelly tells them to suck her balls, but the parents are unswayed by this and say, no, we're not going to suck your balls. And in fact... we've filed for custody, just like we told Max. And she looks like she's a bit pissed off that Max hasn't told her about this.
Right. And also, it's like, if you want to convince someone to do the thing that you want them to do, the very first time they say no to you is not the time to give away your whole hand. These people... are so terrible.
Yeah, they are terrible. But
they are the worst, which is why it's suitable that they are Racist Kelly's best hope, because she is also the worst.
Racist Kelly has a fit and throws him out. Max comes in and apologises, promising to fight. And he even has the bright idea to call Dee Dee to see what she can do about it. Frankie is taken away for a blood transfusion, and Racist Kelly kicks up a fuss to get tested to see if she's a donor match. She's not prepared to wait for as long as the hospital seems to want to wait, although I don't know what they think can get done immediately. Anyway.
Right, yeah, they're like, let's do this blood transfusion first, and then we'll talk about all of this other stuff.
Dee Dee goes to the hospital to talk about the custody thing, and she warns that the court may well decide that the grandparents are a better place for Frankie, more so given his illness now. Meanwhile, the hospital now know that Racist Kelly had Hep C, and so that instantly makes her ineligible from being a donor.
Correct. She can't donate anything.
Back home, Dee Dee...
Although they say to her that Hep C stays... that the antibodies for Hep C stay in your body a long time. The correct response is Hep C antibodies stay in your body for life. They never go away.
Well, that is a long time.
Yeah, it's still not, these things will never leave you.
Oh, but maybe just so that you don't end up in another argument with this girl, just say a long time. Back home, Dee Dee is praying for guidance when Max calls to tell her that Racist Kelly can't be a donor and they have no way to contact Emily about Maeve. Dee Dee clutches her belly. Max goes to try and raise
Fucking stupid.
Racist Kelly's spirits and calls her a good mum. But Racist Kelly isn't interested in these platitudes and tearfully thinks that maybe Frankie would be better off with Joe's parents after all, which he absolutely would.
Not.
I think he would.
Those people are terrible.
Yeah, but they're better than her.
They would raise Frankie to be another Joel. Is that really what you want for society? He'd be better off being raised by the Platts, and that's saying something.
On Wednesday, at the hospital, Dee Dee is with Racist Kelly and suggests that Maeve might be a good donor for Frankie and asks her not to give up hope. Dee Dee meets with Joel's mum, but she has no idea where Emily is either, but heard she was moving to New Zealand. That's handy. As far away as you can possibly be.
Right, yeah. Although, good for Emily for completely cutting these people off from her life and doing it successfully.
Yeah.
Why can't...
Very quietly, just moving as far away as you possibly can.
Fucking all the way off to another country where they can't touch that baby.
Joel's mum really wants to talk about custody of Frankie and how Racist Kelly is not fit to be a mother. And Dee Dee reacts badly to this and starts screaming at the mother, calling her a hypocrite and promising to do everything she can to keep Frankie away from her.
Right, yes. And correctly pointing out that she's not exactly a shining example of motherhood because she raised a rapist.
Yep. Max intervenes, worried about the scene. And he goes to the hospital and tells Racist Kelly about the altercation. Racist Kelly thinks this is a good thing, but Max is surprised how Dee Dee lost control and got emotional.
Oh my God, Dee Dee showed emotion.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Dee Dee has bumped into her new best friend, Sarah, and confirms to her that she will work night and day behind the scenes on Racist Kelly's custody case. Dee Dee and Sarah go to see Racist Kelly and confirm that they can't find Maeve. Racist Kelly gives Frankie to Dee Dee and nips off for a shite, which obviously upsets Dee Dee holding the baby. She and Sarah talk about her pregnancy and abortion when Racist Kelly comes back in and catches the end of it, so Dee Dee comes clean. Racist Kelly is shocked, but then is relieved to think that there might be a match after all through Dee Dee's baby, until Dee Dee says she's not keeping it. Racist Kelly says that will kill Frankie. Dee Dee tells Racist Kelly to fuck off. She won't be guilted into having a baby.
Right, yeah. What is this show trying to say here? First of all, as we know because we have been doing some research.
Well, when you hear these sort of things, the first thing you think, is that true? And you Google it, and then you find it's not really true.
No. Half siblings don't tend to be very good matches, and full siblings are only 1 in 4.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's 4 combinations between the mother and father.
Right.
It can be father, 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 mother, mother, father, mother, mother.
Right, yeah. Initially, I was thinking that unless Dee Dee and Racist Kelly have the same blood type, that's not going to work. But that's not the case because it's the leukocytes in the bone marrow and not the blood type that is the important factor. But just being related has no bearing on whether or not you will make a good donor for bone marrow. It's very, 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 very tricky.
What I would suggest that we do here is let the hospital do their fucking job.
Right.
Looking for a donor because presumably they've got records.
And it's interesting that nobody seems to want to ask the hospital and the doctor, look, she is pregnant with the same father's baby. Would they be a match?
Well, to be fair, the Racist Kelly does say that at the end.
Yeah, but she doesn't ask the doctor.
She says that she'll speak to the transplant specialist.
Right. Yeah, but she doesn't.
Well, we don't see that.
And also, it is a really fucking big ask to ask somebody to bring another person into the world just to save your baby.
There's something that very organ farmy about it.
Yes. And it also feels a little racist. Just a wee bit. That Lauren seems to feel entitled to Dee Dee's offspring. That leaves a bad taste in my mouth for some reason.
Well, let's get through Friday then. Racist Kelly gets confirmation that Frankie has whatever it was that they said that he might have.
But not the leukemia,
and
the
he's
other
going
thing.
to need a donor. Little Miss Sunshine, Racist Kelly demands that they begin that search for a donor right now.
And the doctors say, yeah, no shit.
Max asks about Dee Dee's baby, and Racist Kelly tells him about the termination, and now she's not answering her phone, and Max wants to go to speak to Dee Dee.
Yes, but Max, that's a great idea.
But Racist Kelly discourages it. Meanwhile, ahead of the termination, Dee Dee is joined by Michael, but she has to meet him later as she's consumed with helping Racist Kelly for the moment, and she meets Joel's parents again later at her flat and asks them to drop their application, which they reject.
And also, all of a sudden, she has morning sickness, which is something that she would have had weeks ago.
But then she has to run off to puke or have a shit or something. But yeah,
this is not when morning sickness happens.
Joel died at the end of September.
Yeah.
So, assuming that she had sex with Joel the second before he died.
Right.
She's 3 months pregnant.
Yeah, which is not when you have morning sickness.
She's about 4 months pregnant at this point.
She is getting very close to not being able to even have a termination.
Right.
But there is no way all of a sudden now she has morning sickness. What? Who is writing this shit? Guys, read a book.
It's not read a book, it's like...
Google!
Can we all just agree how pregnant Dee Dee is?
Right. And how pregnancy works. Can we figure this out, please?
Maybe she just had the shits. Let's just go with that. Later, Joel's parents go to Nina's Rolls and they bump into Michael and Ed, and they have now sussed out that Dee Dee is pregnant, and this is news to Ed. So Ed and Michael go back to Dee Dee's, and she's ashamed to admit it. Ed promises to support her whatever she decides.
Yeah, for now.
Back at the hospital, Ed insists that he's proud of Dee Dee and understands her decision, so off she goes to get her abortion. Afterwards, she finds Joel's parents on the street and tells them that the baby is gone, and they're shocked at what she did to their grandchild.
Yeah, fuck off!
Dee Dee tells them that they aren't fit to be grandparents, and Max is lingering in the background and hears all this. He goes back to the hospital and tearfully tells Lauren, who seems to wonder how Dee Dee could be so selfish.
Fuck you!
Later, Dee Dee goes to speak to Racist Kelly, but Racist Kelly can't do this right now until Dee Dee reveals that, rug pull, she didn't have the abortion after all. She couldn't do it because of her faith. Racist Kelly is very keen now for Dee Dee to get tested by the transplant specialist, and Dee Dee is in agreement, and she goes home and tells Michael that she hasn't had the abortion, but instead she's going to give the baby up for adoption.
And this is a bridge too far for Ed. and is like, how dare you? How can you possibly do this? He's fine with an abortion, but he'll be damned if he sees a grandchild of his be put up for adoption.
Yeah, we all have our limits. And that's how we end this week's episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this wasn't
This
great.
storyline keeps getting worse. How can this storyline be worse now that Joel is dead and now that we know who killed him? Why? Why does it keep going? And why? Why do they keep axing poor Dee Dee's character over and over and over again so that she is just a fraction of what she used to be? This is so bad.
I don't really remember her talking about her faith being all that important to her until she suddenly became pregnant.
Well, no.
I know that she mentioned it. She has mentioned it.
Because she was-
I concede that because she was being celibate.
And also, she's the one who got Paul baptized. Let's not forget.
Oh, that's true. I
Yeah.
guess.
Her faith has been an important part of her character since she was introduced. It was that and the fact that she was ditzy. She doesn't seem quite so ditzy anymore.
No, they
but
got rid
now
of that.
they've made her incredibly depressed and sad and kind of mean.
And almost entirely at the beck and call for racist Kelly.
Right. And Max and other white people who she owes nothing. And the fact that they're doing this whole ridiculous Dee Dee must have the baby to save Frankie is just
And I know that you're particularly disappointed in
so
that because
stupid.
you want that baby dead.
It's not that I want Frankie to die. It's that I don't see a world where the show allows Frankie to live. Because Frankie is the new Oliver. Only Oliver was the product of an amusing storyline about sex.
Yes.
Frankie is the object
Well,
of
the opposite of that, yeah.
Yes, the opposite of that. Of sexual abuse. Of a sexual abuse storyline, which I think was intended to make us sympathetic with racist Kelly, which has not worked.
I don't know what they can possibly do to generate sympathy with this character because they've had her almost killed, they've had her groomed and sexually abused, they've had her almost dying and her baby almost dying, they've had evil grandparents trying to rip the baby away from her, they've got her on a murder charge.
From saving Max from death.
And none of it is resonating.
Right, because they can't resuscitate her personality. Because they throw all this at her and she does not grow as a person. She's still horrid and entitled around other people, especially people of color. Although she's very rude to white nurses as well, I have to say.
Yeah, she's an
And
equal
doctors.
opportunity rude person.
Yes.
I don't, and I feel like I need to say this just so we're all clear. I think Kate Fitton is playing her very well.
Yeah.
But her character is unsalvageable as far as I'm concerned. now.
Correct. Yeah. This is not the fault of the actor. This is the fault of the character and how she is written. Because every time it seems like they're doing a good job of resuscitating her, she does something terrible or she acts in a very terrible, selfish way, which is what she's doing right now. Because remember, she was starting to do kind of an arc of sympathy and stuff. And then she tried to put the moves on Roy and everybody said no. Remember that? And it was the whole, oh, well, this is because she was groomed by her father and all these other people. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But this is icky.
Yeah,
And it didn't work.
I thought that was powerful and uncomfortable.
Right, yeah.
But
I feel like it was a little too uncomfortable.
But it did seem to start a relationship with Roy that was more wholesome.
Yes. But then it led to her disappearing and Roy being accused of murder and being treated like a pariah.
And growing that terrible beard.
Yes.
And we can't really forgive Racist Kelly for that.
No, we really can't.
So they've come close.
Yeah, but every
They've
time
never
they come
fallen
close,
through with it.
they tweak it in a way where it veers in the wrong direction. Whereas somehow they've managed to work really well with the whole Mason rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense that they can successfully do it with one terrible character, but not the other.
Well, maybe nor should they, because not every terrible character should be rehabilitated. Otherwise, every villain becomes a good guy. Every heel turns face, and maybe that's not at all believable.
Yeah,
but what you can't do is expect us to feel sympathetic for this character.
Right, yeah. And see, that's the
and
thing
I
that
think
it
they
feels
want
like
us-
they want us to do
But she's taking
without
Dee Dee
doing
down
the
with
work.
her.
Yeah.
And she's taking Max down with her.
Yeah.
Max feels like he was on the right track
Yeah.
as well, but he is now so infatuated with her, and particularly with the baby, that
Yeah.
it just comes across as kind of weird and creepy.
Yes. Yeah.
And Dee Dee's
when he's like,
decision making here, feeling like it's purely for Racist Kelly's benefit, isn't doing her any favours either.
No.
And she was a great character.
yeah. Yeah, it's really sad because I've seen on the social media a lot of people doing the Coronation Street Advent calendar. And on the day when it was, who's your favorite Bailey? Everybody picked Aggie. But everybody picked Aggie with a proviso that it would have been Dee Dee if it was the Dee Dee of 3 months ago.
Right.
Because the show is just completely wrecking this character and does not seem to recognize that even when everybody on social media is telling them that. It sucks.
Yeah.
Of course, my favorite Bailey is still Ronnie, but that's neither here nor there.
He's a walking pair of arms.
He
as
is a
well, Ronnie.
walking pair of arms.
Yeah, I love Dee Dee to start with.
Yeah. Yeah, because Michael and James, and Michael has improved over time.
He's still very much a bit character, though, isn't he?
Which is weird because he had a whole ass storyline to himself with the whole Grace thing. But Dee Dee was like a ray of sunshine. You know, she just walked into the set and we're like, oh, yes, we are on her side. We love her. We are with her 100%. It's kind of like when Glinda showed up.
Her and Glenda are
Yeah.
very much birds of a feather.
Yes. And then they do this to her. And it's like, why? I get that you're a soap opera. I get that you need drama. But maybe don't completely ruin characters in order to do so. And maybe confirm that what you're writing is actually the way medicine works.
Oh, yeah, just let's all agree when Dee Dee got pregnant.
Right.
And
Yes.
And write it down on a piece of paper that you stick on your monitor.
Right. Because how long has Paul been dead now? Because she got pregnant before Paul died. Because it was Paul being so sick that made her horny. Which still just feels completely antithetical to this character. I'm so sad about my friend dying that I'm willing to throw away my faith. It was nice to see her praying, though, because, like, we don't ever get to see, I don't know, Billy pray. So it was nice to see her praying, but then they ruin it by having Max's text come as supposedly an answer to her prayer
Yeah.
about what she's supposed to do.
Paul died 9th of September.
Right. Yeah. So she had to have gotten pregnant end of August.
Probably August.
Yeah.
So yeah, 4 months. That's what we reckon.
Yeah. You're not getting morning sickness. First of all, you're not getting morning sickness in the middle of the day. But also, you're not getting morning sickness 4 months in.
I'm telling you, she just
your
had the
second
shits.
trimester. No, because she goes, bull, and then runs in, and they're like, twice in one day? She must be up the duff.
Yes. Well, that was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
Sally inviting Mason to Christmas.
Yeah, that was lovely. And a lovely Christmas moment for our last podcast before Christmas.
Yes. It's like Billy playing piano in the street. It's one of those very sweet Christmassy Coronation Street moments. And it's nice that we got one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
our boring moment of the week.
Daniel running.
Daniel running was so weird. What was he doing? What? Why was he running like that?
He's trying to get into shape, I guess.
But what was he doing though?
He was running.
But yeah, how though?
By
It wasn't how anybody else runs.
By putting his foot in a puddle.
I loved that shot, by the way. The puddle that reflected the pub.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was a really good shot.
And then they ruined it with Daniel's foot.
And then Daniel just running like Phoebe runs, I think. Another Friends reference. I need to stop this. I'm watching Friends again, in case you haven't noticed. That is our
Boring moment of the week.
our non-scientific Twitter poll this week. At the end of Friday's episode, I asked our Twitter followers what they reckoned of this week's episodes, and they responded thusly. 13.6%.
Really?
Meh, 32%.
Okay.
And yay, 54.4%.
What is wrong with you people?
I think 54%. I think Swarla fans are quite happy with what happened this week. That's what I take from that.
Did they not watch the rest of the show around the Swarla stuff?
You know, some people just skip storylines that they don't care for. But yeah, this seems to have gone down quite well. A couple of comments on that as well. McWhiskers writes, Sally was comedy gold tonight, but
Yes.
some storylines are getting a bit boring.
Yes.
Far too much focus on Lauren and Dee Dee and Joel's parents, and none at all
Yes.
about Todd and Mary and George.
Right.
Whiskey Jack writes, Kit needs to join Police Scotland straight away. Put him on Old Firm duty. Or Glasgow Derby, if you prefer.
I heard apparently people are calling him the new Gary Windass.
The much taller, non-ginger Gary Windass.
Yes.
Yep.
Spreading his seed throughout the street.
Yeah, not bad. And being horrendously violent.
Right, yes.
Anyway, we don't let the Twitter poll influence our scores. Of course we don't.
No, of course
So,
not.
Helen, what is your score out of 10 this week?
3.
I thought it was better this week. I would give it a 5. But
I feel like it was worse this week.
I thought it was a bit better.
It to me, it feels like the whole bone marrow thing brings everything else down.
It does drag other things down.
Yes.
All right, let's wrap this one up then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast. Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B, Brittany
Whew.
Porter, Laurie Anna,
Preach.
Tina, Colin Burt, Stephen, Leah, and Tara J.
Thank you. Thank you
so very much, everybody. We really appreciate it. If you've ever forgotten how pregnant you are, write in to tell us about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Or you can reach us the old-fashioned way, the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. Or patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
It's no longer Russell Week.
Oh, thanks for making it to the end of another episode. Have a wonderful Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever. We will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.